Ditching the soda for a crisp glass of apple juice is a major glow-up for your daily routine.
You still get that hit of sweetness, only now it comes from real juice that starts in an orchard instead of a flavor lab.
From there, things get very interesting, with tree cloning, enzymatic treatments, ultrafiltration, and heat exchangers.
All working together so we can pour a glass any month of the year.
Stick around as we head out to the orchards and follow every step, from fresh picked to that golden juice chilling in your fridge.
Growing apples for juice factories is a complex challenge because apple seeds are classified as what scientists call extreme heterozygotes, which means every seed is a genetic wildcard that grows into a brand new and random variety, totally different from its parent fruit. This unpredictability makes it impossible for farmers to rely on seeds when juice plants need To solve that problem, commercial orchards build their blocks through grafting, a cloning method that lets them multiply specific tree types, and so the factory gets the exact balance of sweet and tart it needs for juicing. Like McIntosh, Honeycrisp, Golden Delicious, Granny Smith, and Gala. For instance, to create a McIntosh tree,
the bud is taken from a mature McIntosh and carefully inserted into the bark of a young rootstock.
When the cambium layers meet and heal together, the top of that tree is genetically a McIntosh and will bear those apples reliably every season.
When spring arrives, white blossoms spread across the orchard,
and the first stages of the fruit form behind each flower. While days warm throughout summer, the fruit expands and hang on their spurs until they reach their optimal ripeness window, often in September to October. As that window approaches, growers will put their crop through rigorous ripeness tests that often include the following 3 specific methods: a refractometer to read the Brix or sugar level in the juice, a penetrometer to measure how firm the flesh is, or a starch iodine test that shows how much starch inside the apple has converted into sugar. When those readings hit the exact standards set by the juice company's quality team, it signals that the apples are ready, and harvest. Not long ago, it used to take a field full of workers to pick the autumn harvest, climbing ladders and filling bags from dawn to dusk. But today, commercial orchards use specialized machines that can do that same job in a fraction of the time. This powerful tree shaker grips the trunks with an oversized padded clamp and uses hydraulic power to rattle the tree for a few seconds. In that short burst, as much as 300 pounds of apples hit the ground, and over the course of a day, it can bring down 150 tons of fruit without harming the trees. Because these apples are destined for pressing instead of pretty produce displays, some bruising is perfectly acceptable. So following close behind the shaker, this multi-section centipede harvester sweeps the orchard floor, and it scoops up nearly 100 tons of apples from this one site. Orchard after orchard, this operation repeats, with each block dedicated to growing a particular variety for juicing. Once the waiting collection truck is heaped with more than
150,000 apples, it heads away toward the nearby mill.
With this mill pressing out over 1 million gallons of juice every day, it demands a staggering supply of fruit. That's why each fall, more than 100 nearby orchards send in truckload after truckload of apples, from sweet Honeycrisp to tart Granny Smith, all headed for one unified blend. Once they all arrive at the mill, the apples are sorted by variety and moved into this controlled atmosphere cold storage room.
Inside, the air is carefully set to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, with 90% relative humidity
and only 3% oxygen, slowing their natural ripening so the entire autumn crop can be pulled out and juiced month after month. After the ideal mix of apples is selected to create their unique flavor profile, the bins are tipped onto a conveyor, which feeds into a high-capacity washing bath. This bath is dosed with food-grade cleaning agents, such as sodium hypochlorite or peracetic acid, to sanitize the skins.
Then the apples enter this rinsing unit that flushes away any trace of cleaner with fresh water. The freshly washed fruit then drop onto an inspection belt where crew members handpick any rotting fruit or stray debris, so only sound, spotless apples advance. Clean and inspected, the apples convey straight into this high-powered pulverizer. The machine chews up the whole fruits, skins, cores, and stems, grinding everything into a wet slurry called mash. The processed mash then flow into these towering 60-ton holding tanks, where they introduce an enzyme called pectinase. For 1 hour, this enzyme works to soften the apple pieces by dissolving the pectin, a substance that holds plant cells together. Softening the mash this way allows the downstream presses to squeeze out every available drop of liquid in the next step.
After soaking in the pectinase, the softened mash is directed into these giant press machines.
Each press chamber is filled with nearly 10 tons of wet mash before a hydraulic piston begins a series of rotating compression cycles.
With every stroke, pressure builds, pushing 90% of the juice through fine filtering socks.
While the remaining solids are compacted into a dry cake material they call pomace.
This leftover pomace then falls into a screw feeder that steadily pushes it into a waiting collection bin.
From there, it often takes on a second life, commonly hauled away as livestock feed, blended into high-fiber snack bars and bakery items,
or supplied to biodigesters that generate methane-based clean energy.
After pressing isolates the raw juice, it runs through an initial pre-filter, where a fine sieve holds back bigger bits of pulp and fruit. Some premium brands will stop right here and bottle it as unpasteurized, not from concentrate 100% apple juice, though it can only stay fresh for about 7 days. But since that narrow window doesn't work for most retailers, most commercial factories will continue on to preservation to keep it drinkable for much longer. And that preservation step starts here in the flash pasteurization zone, where the juice flows into these heat exchangers at 74 degrees,
is quickly heated to 180 degrees for 30 seconds,
then cooled back down to 74 degrees. This sudden temperature spike destroys harmful bacteria and microorganisms that would otherwise spoil the juice before it ever reached the shelf. At this point, the pasteurized juice is still very cloudy and looks nothing like the translucent bottles we're used to seeing. That's because it's still loaded with microscopic bits of pectin and tiny fragments of apple flesh floating in the liquid. To clear it up, a second dose of pectinase is poured in. This enzyme dissolves the leftover pectin, making it so those apple particles can settle out and the juice easier to filter. Then, it's screened through ultrafiltration, where high pressure forces the liquid through specialized tubular membranes. These filters contain ultrafine pores that can trap the tiniest pectin
and apple specks imaginable, resulting in a crystal clear, sparkling juice.
To preserve the clarified juice well past the fall harvest, this facility uses a preservation method called evaporative concentration, so they can stretch their supply throughout the year. Inside these tall vertical tanks, the juice is brought up to 175 degrees Fahrenheit,
thickening the juice into a very sweet apple syrup.
Pungence. As it concentrates, the flavoral vapors are also collected and condensed as a clear, powerfully scented.
The concentrated syrup is then stored in these mega tall holding silos, where it can remain usable for up to 2 years, allowing the factory to keep bottling juice long after harvest season ends. By condensing the juice instead of storing it at full volume, they cut storage space by as much as 80%, making it cheaper and easier to warehouse and ship. To get a sense of this space saving, when all 100 mega silos filled with concentrates are eventually diluted back to drinking strength, they can turn out to 87 million gallons
of ready-to-drink apple juice. Before using any concentrate, the on-site laboratory analyze
the Brix levels and prepare a small rediluted sample with the liquid apple essence to make sure the finished juice is just right.
With the concentrate prepared and tested,
the factory can finally switch over to making ready-to-drink apple juice. A forklift positions a 300-gallon crate of concentrate on this scale. Then the syrup is sucked into this large mixing tank and diluted with 1,700 gallons of water, plus the captured liquid apple aroma, creating a 2,000-gallon batch at drinking strength. To prevent the juice from eventually browning through oxidation, and to boost nutrition,
A female technician scoops in 12 pounds of powdered vitamin C, or ascorbic acid, so each serving delivers a full daily allowance of vitamin C. After a 20-minute spin in the mixer, the blended juice still isn't quite finished. It needs one more safety step.
As precautionary, the juice goes through a second round of flash pasteurization,
where it's quickly brought up to 185 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 seconds, before rapidly chilling to roughly 90 degrees. This extra treatment targets any spoilage microbes that may have recontaminated the juice during dilution, and only then is the juice officially cleared for bottling. Empty plastic bottles start by going through a cleaning system, where they're washed and disinfected with hydrogen peroxide.
they're given a thorough rinse while flipped upside down, then are spun upright before heading toward the filling line.
Juice enters the bottles while still hot from pasteurization, a technique called hot filling that sterilizes the bottle's interior. Each bottle is filled completely to the top, leaving no air gap that could trigger oxidation and spoil the juice.
The filled bottles then go around this machine that twists on the caps.
Then an applicator wraps each bottle in a fresh label and sends them off to shipping, bringing delicious and nutritious apple juice one step closer to your... From what we've just watched, it's obvious that turning apple into juice takes some serious biology, engineering, and industrial muscle.
The next time you reach for a bottle, you'll know the story behind that smooth, golden pour. So pour yourself a glass, enjoy the fruit of this industrial labor, and count it as the easiest apple you'll eat all day.